And welcome everybody. I'm sorry for the brief delay and technical issues that we did have on the stream. And I also apologize to anyone that was looking forward to watching the Monash A team versus Razors, but that game will be taking part shortly, but off stream because we had a bit of a time issue. But I am joined here with no one other but himself, Pixie, and I'm Poon. So we'll be bringing to you guys the game of Monash Placeholders and Velvet Weifish from Melbourne. And we have Velvet Weifish on the left side, and we have Placeholders on the right side. So welcome, Pixie.
Hello, hi, how is everybody doing? It looks as well, I just want to bring up, it looks like Velvet Weifish are missing out on a ban, so that must be a substitution issue there. That tends to be the rule of thumb. If you bring in subs at the last minute, you do miss out on a ban. So they're only going to be banning out the double E Elise and Echo. Interesting to see Elise being banned out again. It's been a while, hasn't it?
Yeah, definitely, but with the new Elise, you know, the buffs to her Poon length in terms of the stun went from 0.8 seconds to 1.6, which is a huge buff in the early ganks. And Elise already being a strong early game jungler, I mean, just adds more effectiveness to her kit, so smart takeaway ban there, and very strong champion overall.
I'm really liking the just the bans that have come out straight up and down. A lot of really just heavy power picks being taken away, you know, things like the Olaf, things like the Victor, and also to a slightly lesser extent the Echo and Shyvana. It kind of opens up the potential champion pools here, I feel. It does leave a lot of other very strong picks open. A lot of mid lane is still available, actually. Things like the Azir are very much still available. Orianna going to be picked up, though, as the first mid laner there. And Vayner, not quite sure what he's going to go for. He's just bumping around for a while. He'll decide before long. Another thing to note, though, no supports being banned out whatsoever, or any AD. So the bottom lane is wide open, and without things like Olaf and Shyvana, and also you mentioned Elise, who has all that early gank pressure, there's potentially a lot more picks available now in the bottom lane, so we could see some very different things coming out here. Already Avena has been hovering over the Twitch. I wonder if that's a serious thought that Monash are having here.
Yeah, most definitely, as you mentioned before, a lot of power picks still left open. I mean, only banning away the Elise and Victor, who we see on a consistent basis. I mean, Shyvana, the nightmare of low elo in terms of solo queue because of that Devourer buff that's recently happened. But not going to be seen in this game with the Shyvana takeaway. And no Olaf jungle or top lane, which we've seen used to great effect by Rainova, both in jungle and also Dyrus in the recent playoffs in the top lane. So a lot of ADCs on either Afflicted or Nissan that are not going to have issues with that Olaf just running through and not being able to be CC'd. But we see the Orianna pick up, which is extremely strong mid laner if played in the right hands, and also a very farm-centric champion because that champion is around 300 farm to really get snowballing, especially if she goes for the tier build. So we'll see what Modorio can do on the Orianna.
I'm liking where this is going. Sinley hovering over Vi and Modorio hovering over Aurelia. It looks like those are going to be the lock-ins. I like that. I already we've got something strong and very directed coming out of the blue team here. They've got just solid power picks in lane. You've got Vi, who is really great in the jungle, an excellent engager, strong in the early ganks, strong in the mid-game team fights with the engage, and with that Orianna ball on top of her, she's even better. The only time those sorts of champions fall flat, though, is when they have to go in by themselves, especially if they aren't as far ahead as they'd like to be. But with Aurelia there is almost always going to be a dive buddy for Vi. This is just such a strong opening in terms of picks from Velvet Weifish here, and I would like to see how they round this out. That being said, they're going with a very clear team composition, and that makes it wide open for Monash Placeholder to counterpick that. So Draven being locked in, I was saying the bottom lane is wide open, and Draven, he loves a wide open bottom lane, if you know what I mean.
Most definitely, and as you said before, there's 3 power picks and also kind of damage picks on the side of on Weifish there, and it's hard because Aurelia thrives in that back line, and so does Vi, and with this ball delivery system in terms of the Vi ult, the Vault Breaker, and also Aurelia going to jump into the back line, it goes almost Orianna just a free path into that back line to get a massive shockwave off. But on the right side we have the Braum pickup, the Evelyn pickup, the Azir pickup, and also the Draven pickup. And these are all champions that snowball extremely hard, because Draven with that passive is just, if he gets a kill in lane, or a kill after having all those stacks, he's gonna snowball extremely hard. If he gets that BF advantage against what looks like a Sivir pickup, it's gonna be extremely hard lane for Inflicted and his partner Clyfin. So we'll see what he can do. Azir can have a good time in the mid lane, just farming it out. Almost, I think he wins this mid lane matchup, because Azir can push the Orianna in and also do some damage with his Sand Soldiers. Evelyn can have a lot of early game pressure with invisibility, and although pick Evelyn and she usually has strong early game ganks, on Evelyn every lane has to play further back, because normal wards don't spot her unless she's taking damage or doing spells, and that gives a sense of playing safe, and that she always may be there, and if she is there, it's going to punish the enemy team a lot.
Yeah, I was actually really liking the hover there for a moment from Afflicted, the Ashe. Of course, the weaknesses really were just a bit too much. Ashe into something like an Evelyn and into something like an Azir, she just loses a lot of the potential strength she brings later in the game, and I feel like Sivir is a much safer pick in that regard when it comes to the mid and later stages of the game, where it's more skirmishes, more team fights. But Ashe into Draven can actually be quite strong, because Draven, he wants to get aggressive and basically run you down, and Ashe is really good at stopping champions that try and do that. Of course, the trade-off there is mobility. This is really nice, actually, complementing the Draven pickup, and to a lesser extent the Evelyn. You get a bit of that the old submarine play, the Shen pickup there. I think that's really smart, given how this team comp is looking. They've already got a fairly strong comp. It's not the most amazing team fight comp, but what they've got is a composition that stops themselves from being picked, which I think is really smart when they're coming up against things like Aurelia, things like Orianna, Vi, even Sivir to a lesser extent, with that on the hunt. Once she finds someone, she can get her team all onto them very quickly. But Shen really helps counter out that sort of thing. If one person gets caught out, you know full well that Shen will most likely join them. He's going to join the party very quickly. And like you said before, Evelyn could be just about anywhere. And if she isn't there, you have to assume that she will be soon. So really there is no such thing as picking out a single member. What you're doing is picking a fight with at least 3 members of Monash Placeholders. So they're forcing Velvet Weifish, they're forcing Velvet Weifish to team fight only, which means if they don't get ahead in the early game and they aren't able to successfully team fight, or even if they whiff their wombo combo in a few crucial fights, they're going to lose this match. I actually think this is a really clever way of countering out that team comp, rather than just going for something really pokey and really kitey.
That's an interesting point you bring up there. As you mentioned before, the Braum pickup, the Evelyn pickup, and also the Shen pickup are very good picks to try to protect the backline, which is in the form of Draven. Draven being an immobile champion and his ADC no escapes apart from the speed boost on his W, he can deal so much damage given the right scenario, given the right team comp built around him. And with these concussive blows on the side of Braum, he's going to do so much damage with, spinning axes and also the Winter's Bite. So we'll see what he can do and how his team can play around the Draven. But if the Evelyn can get a good gank, a good gank with the Shen, the invisibility gonna bait in the enemy team. It's almost overextending. Then they can get a very good flank with the Evelyn ult and the Agony's Embrace and also the Shen taunt. But it's up to both teams to try to play the early game as best as they can, because I feel like the team with the earlier lead, will end up snowballing this game into the mid to the late game.
Yeah, absolutely. I wonder maybe if we'll see a lane swap. As much as Draven likes going for early aggression, even better than early aggression in a 2v2 lane is early aggression in a 2v1 lane, where he can almost guarantee himself a kill on Aurelia before her power spike. Granted, of course, if he plays that lane properly, if he gets the right sort of advantage, and of course if Aurelia chooses to show up to that lane if a lane swap is initiated. So I wonder if we might even see that coming out of Monash Placeholder here. And also, lane swapping is a really nice way of disrupting Weifish's, game plan here. Granted, I might be putting words in their mouth here a little, but if I were on Velvet Weifish, okay, first of all, I wouldn't be on Velvet Weifish because I'm not a challenger player. But if I were on Velvet Weifish, I would be wanting to get my standard lane matchups, play them fairly safe, get all my champions ramping up because they're all strong, consistent lanes that all have a relative amount of safety to them, and then start moving into the mid game, looking for the safer kinds of picks, shutting down Shen so that he's not as big as a threat in those pick type scenarios, and then snowballing that through to big team fight victories in the mid to late game, potentially around, you know, the Dragon and Baron areas, or even in jungles where something like Command Shockwave just absolutely thrives. So Monash Placeholder lane swapping really turns that on its head. Suddenly your Aurelia doesn't get the nice 1v1 matchup that she wants. She has to, you know, tag along in the jungle or risk dying to Draven, which is a very, very real risk in that lane swap situation. And at the same time, as much as Sivir will be shoving down a turret, not going to be as big a thing. Like, Sivir, as much as she's great at being aggressive and getting the early push down, this isn't a team that wants to early push. It's a team that wants to play the lanes for a little while before getting the aggression on. And Sivir not having a particularly safe lane to be in is a really big issue.
Yeah, that's a very interesting point you pull up there, because Draven, contrary to popular belief, he's actually quite weak in lane and thrives in the mid to late game, and if he can get that lane swap scenario, Aurelia gets hurt a lot more in the lane swap compared to Shen. Shen, having that Vorpal Blade, can keep himself healthy and can farm the jungle coupled with the Evelyn, but Aurelia falls quite behind and is much more much more in need of farm than a lot of the other top laner champions. I mean, she needs to hit that Sheen / Trinity's power spike to start doing a lot of damage to the carries on the side of Monarch Placeholders. Placeholders is going to do a very standard fan here, not going to look for any shenanigans, and just going to make sure they get their jungle not watered and lane swaps, if they were to take them, non-scouted. So, a very smart move here. Evelyn and Shen is going to stand to their own side of the jungles, and we'll see if they do off that lane swap against the side of Velvet Weifish, but they may not, looking at this standard positioning across the map right now. And if they weren't, hopefully they give across the Gromp to the bot lane of Monarch Placeholders, because Draven and Braum can take that Gromp extremely fast.
That they can, and they definitely want to be turning up to lane with something like that under their belt. I mean, Draven, you said he's actually not great in lane. I mean, he can be aggressive if he gets a bit of an advantage, but you tend not to get that sort of advantage at this level of play. That being said, with Gromp in the early level 2, along with Braum, that's a lane with a lot of kill pressure, that's the sort of lane that Draven could maybe find those early picks in. So picking up that Gromp is definitely the right call for them if they're not going to be initiating this lane swap here. That being said, Sivir and Alistair are going to start off on the Krugs as well, so it's going to be a little bit more even there. And Vi starting off on this red side, Evelyn taking the Krugs as well. I think that actually says a lot. I think, by the looks of things, Sinley is looking to maybe go for some earlier ganks than Timur9.
Yeah, well, Timur9, he may go for the level 3 gank bot instead of the level 3 gank top, or may invade on his blue, who knows, but both ADCs and their support's going to take the Krugs and Gromp buffs in terms of XP and what it gives, and a lot of damage actually already going down on Kleinef down in the bot lane and inflicted, so yeah, a lot of lanes just brawling everywhere.
That'll be a real issue, like I said, if that bottom lane gets an early level 2, and you can definitely tell that's what they're looking to do. Bootleg Herald is just going all in. He wants to zone out Inflicted and Clive N from as much experience as possible. Actually, there's the level 2 for Braum. Ooh, the level 2 coming through for Inflicted and Clive N. Sorry, Clive N at the same time. So we're probably not quite going to see that major kill pressure, but still, Nissan and Bootleg Herald are the ones playing aggressively in that lane, which is also a really nice way of countering out the Sivir shove.
Most definitely, and Sivir actually not taking the spell shield level 2, which means that a lot more damage can go onto her, assuming that the Winter's Bite does connect, so we'll see what they can do here. The top lane going to be a farm lane because it's Aurelia versus Shen, and unless Aurelia can get a really good pick on this Shen, then it's going to be very hard for her to try bully him out at this point. I mean, the Vorpal Blade going to keep him really, really high on that health, and has the Doran shield for that extra tankiness.
Now here's the thing I mentioned. I said earlier on, I wouldn't be surprised if maybe Vi looks for some early ganks. That would be a good lane to do that on. getting the Aurelia going while also keeping the Shen down just a little bit gives you some more breathing room before that Shen with the Stand United comes in all the way across the map affecting fights. So, actually doesn't quite look like Cindy wants to move up to that side of the map just yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if that's a bit of the game plan here for Cindy.
Yeah, very smart takeaway there by the jungler of Monash Placeholders, actually taking the scuttle there so that if Sinley was going to look towards the top lane, he should have to go through the wall over to the brush. But a ward, smart leaving place in there too, so Avania in the top lane, actually smart aggression here and pushing in the Aurelia, trying to get a farm advantage, but actually quite down on farm at this point.
Yeah, definitely. Really just both teams playing a bit of a smart game right now, not letting the other get any easy advantages. So it's going to be a bit of a slow slugfest, at least for the opening stages of this game. Like I said, I still believe that there's a lot of gank pressure coming out of Sinley on that Vi, and I would really like to see that made use of, possibly even before level 6, when Evelyn can't really affect lanes anywhere near as much as Vi can. So, actually a bit of aggression. One of my fan just giving Nissan a little bit of a love tap there. Taking a stun, that was maybe a little bit unfortunate, took more damage than I think he wanted there. But Inflicted did get a nice chunk of damage down. They're still very pressured under this turret, and I was just about to say, I wonder if Cindy's going to maybe make a pass for there. And that is exactly what's going on. It's going to walk over a ward, and we see Tim and 9 coming out the top side as Bootleg Harold, he jumps in onto Clive and Flash out of the way there. Now Bootleg Harold's the focus, he's getting low, but he's going to be able to walk out no problem. Now Tim and 9 flashes on top of Cindy, but Cindy flashing out himself. Now Nissan with the aggression, just trying to poke, get a little bit of damage down, as both of the teams back away from the skirmish.
That was an extremely smart play by both junglers. I mean, Sinley realized where the pressure was supposed to be put, and realized that if the Draven does farm up to this 55 CS point where she can, where he can burst back and just buy BF right off, then it's going to be extremely hard for the side of Inflicted and Clinnef to try get that advantage. But PMR9 also read the map very well and knew that the counter gank would be a potential there, and actually did so. Flash, the bot lane flashes of both the ADC, or actually not the support of the side of Monash Placeholders, but ADC nonetheless being blowing flash, which is extremely important on Draven, seeing as he has no escapes. So it's going to be hard for him. He has to play a bit more backwards now that he has no defensive summoner spells. Sorry.
Yeah, definitely. But what we're also seeing is the pressure that Bootleg Harold is applying is allowing Nissan to get a little bit of a CS advantage. Granted, at this point, it's not massive, but I mean, there's only 2 more creeps that Sivir gets off this wave. So there is a definitive 10 CS lead here for Nissan, and I can only see him pushing that out further and further. Also in that gank, Vi blew the flash. Now, Tim and I blew his flash as well, but Sinley needs that flash a lot more for those pre-sync ganks. You know, the Flash Vault Breaker is a really, really powerful tool, especially against something like a Draven. So as much as Draven doesn't have his flash, the extra pressure that can come out from the jungle in form of Sinley's flash Q isn't really there anymore. And after that, I mean, what are you afraid of? Yeah, sure, there's Headbutt Pulverize, but you've got Braum that can mitigate that with, for now, the Winter's Bite, and then later on the Glacial Fissure. I actually think Nissan, despite not having the flash, is fairly safe here.
It's interesting to see that the bot lane are playing quite backwards, especially since they saw the Vi at that brush, clearing out that pink ward. And both junglers looking towards the top lane side, and actually being down nearly 30 CS here, which is kind of rough, especially in a lane where you expect to go in Shen's favor. I mean, Aurelia not being known for her early game pressure and scaling up, so if he's having issues now, it's going to hurt him a lot more later on in this game. In the mid lane, Farm is even, sorry. And,
yeah. That it is. So, I was actually just about to say, with the Sheen as well, the teleport threat is really big from Aurelia. Now, Shen still has that Stand United, and that is, you know, a massive global threat, but if you can bring enough damage to the table, that Stand United is really just a bit of extra beefiness, and then a semi-effective champion in that fight. And hold on, Mordorio might be in trouble. Tim and 9 showing himself in lane. Not quite going to happen. He actually just saw Sinley walking through that area, so figured that was an opportune time to be around to react. Didn't quite pay off for him though. Now the blue is going to be handed over to Midoriya.
Smart ward going over to Dragon by Bootleg Harold. They don't want Sinley trying to sneak his Dragons, because Vi with his passive going to be easily able to tank up that Baron, but the bot lane of the side of Weifish, sorry, they're going to go pick up their BF swords, and the bot lane of Monash Placeholder is going to mirror that. So both ADC is going to come back with some consumables and the BF sword, but I kind of feel that Nissan is still in the advantageous position in this lane.
Definitely is, but what he needs to do is turn that into some kill pressure. Oh wow, Remyhre going really aggressive. Actually managed to pick up the first blood one-on-one. It was looking promising, but wow, just, you know, the Sheen Aurelia, it goes to show, and that is with the Chain Vest already being there for Shen. Granted, there's not heaps of tankiness, but he's going to be pretty afraid to go back up to that lane. It's exactly what I was talking about. Aurelia being ahead with the teleport up means that Shen's burst stand united won't be anywhere near as effective as he wants it to be. And that's a huge thing in Velvet Whitefish's favor right now.
Yeah, as you mentioned before, the stand united advantage isn't as big as it is now because Aurelia has the lane dominance. She can snowball this lane out of control if he allows it. And if he leaves and doesn't use the stand united at an opportune time, then she can just keep farming this wave, push in, potentially get a turret. And if he doesn't get anything off that stand united, a kill, assist, anything, a dragon, then this lane is going to go further and further into the favor of the Aurelia. So it's up to the Shen to really make sure that these stand united are at good times and that he uses it efficiently and effectively.
Now on the flip side of lanes that have really been going one way, in the bottom lane, we've actually started to see the CS gap even out a bit. Now down to about 5 as both of the lanes reset around about the middle of the lane. So Nissan lost a little bit of that early lead. That being said, he does have the BF sword, which for Draven is a lot of pressure, and we really need to see him taking advantage of that. Speaking of which, Timber9 coming down, Viper to death, Flicks is in the focus though. Moonlake Herald right on top of it. Timber9 is going to take him down. Meanwhile, Aurelia teleporting down does pick up this down. Now Timber9 jumps away from the turret. Remyhre manages to pick that one up under the turret. Double kill for him. Huge shockwave only onto Moonlake Herald though. That picked that one up. And oh my goodness, that's exactly what I was talking about. The threat from Aurelia was bigger than the threat from Shen. And it just got so capitalized on there. Huge pickup for Velvet Whitefish.
MO9 is being taken out right before the stand unit actually come through, so Shen wasn't there for that fight, and Remyhre just capitalized on that advantage in lane. She already has the Sheen and the Phase, so extremely big power spike. It's going to add to that with the Trinity Force that's probably going to be brought up soon, and kind of feel that that's a really, really big kill, because Draven losing all the adoration stacks is going to be really, really rough for him. And if they take this blue away as well, giving it to Midoriya, that's a one less blue that the Azir has, and Azir needs a lot of mana in his laning phase if he wants to be dominant.
Yeah, that's just so huge. I mean, what, 3 kills and a dragon and a blue buff, like that's everything they want, plus the ward also going down deep into that blue buff area. It's not exactly pushing the vision up, but it's the beginning of moving up that vision line. That was just such a dominant play by Velvet Whitefish, and I feel like actually maybe Bootleg Herald and Nissan were looking for something that wasn't really there, maybe felt a bit safer than they were in reality. Also, Stand United going down on Timmy9 rather than Nissan might have been a bit of a mistake there from Avena, but that all aside, back into lane now, Nissan and Bootleg Herald might want to start to look for something again, as this Glacial Fissure is about 3/4 of the way off cooldown, and that would be the time to really look for something.
Although the advantage went over to Inflicted and his partner, still can't count out and doubt the damage that Draven does bring to a fight, especially coupled with Bomb. Oh, actually, it's got a Grishko down
Remyhre. Flash actually up from Avena. Timber9 came up, but you almost wonder, without that Agony's Embrace, I wouldn't be surprised if Remyhre could have taken on the both of them, even if Timmy9 had gone into that lane, and it just goes to show the pressure coming out of that lane now. Avena, what's he going to do? He can't afford to leave for any other team fights that happen. This is really the time for Sidley, especially with his ult off cooldown again, to look for more kills, to look for more skirmishes. Speaking of which, Clyfen knocking out Bootleg Herald there, but this time with the aggression. Now here comes Sidley, here comes Midoriya as well. Bootleg Herald's caught up by the Clark Shockwave. Midoriya picking that one up. Nice roam down, and there was not enough vision coverage to prevent that gank from going down. That was exactly what I was saying. That was the perfect time for it. And what can I say? Velvet Whitefish, they just know how to play this game.
Yeah, there was no pressure on the map by the Avenir on that Shen because Daniel
down. The taunt misses as Timmy9 goes in on Remyhre. He's just going to walk away from that. Takes about half his health, but that was an entire ultimate, and he just soaked it up.
Yeah, going back to what we saw in the bot lane, they just cleared the wards out in the river, and Midoriya had a free reign to roam down, and Transtar was just sitting in the mid lane farming it up, so it's twice where Midoriya has, you know, roamed for free without any reply answer by Transtar there. Transtar there,
hold on.
down 6 years.
Inflicted's getting a little bit pissed in here. Nissan is around. Avena, doesn't catch him with the taunt. They're trying to chase it up, but the deeper they go into that territory, the more dangerous it gets. Inflicted took a turret and walked away with it with his life. And flash for teleport against a Shen, that's a trade you're more than happy to make. Especially since, as we've been saying, Shen can barely afford to leave that top lane. They might even lose the top turret to that move as well.
Yeah, 2 turrets for a flash on Sivir is so huge. I mean, Shen's gonna walk towards mid lane, Shockwave missing.
Yeah, it does whip just a little bit of Vayner. He's in the wrong place at the wrong time. Cindy does get taunted up though. The Remyhre shuffle comes through, knocking him and climbing out of the way. Cindy, though, he's still alive. Finally, Transstars manages to find him. 5-bet now the focus. Stand United on top of Transstars as well. This is a little bit more pressure in the mid lane. Now here comes Bootleg Herald. The Aurelia has roamed down from the top side. This could be the pressure needed for Monash Placeholder. What are they going to be able to turn this into?
If that
oh my god, Nissan! Wow, chunked out Inflicted. That was a lot of the combo, plus the ultimate, but really Inflicted barely able to keep alive with the heal there.
That's just the raw damage that Draven brings to these fights. I mean, nearly diving Inflicted there on the Sivir. I mean, Sivir having 4 assists here and Draven having 1, but, you know, showing the raw damage of the kit that Draven brings to these kind of fights, and gonna push this lane out and probably back on the side of Inflicted, maybe pick up that IE if she can afford it, but in the mid lane, I feel as if that the shockwave by Midoriya landed there, that would have been a different story itself.
It would have been very different indeed. You can definitely see Transstars falling over. Sydney would have stayed alive. It would have been a turret gone. That being said, missing that shockwave has by no means been the end of the world for Melbourne Weifish. Oh my goodness! Remyhre just wants to go right in, going really deep on the Transstars, finds him anyway, and now Bootleg Herald as well. Remyhre got tickled by that turret and only took 1 stack of the concussive blows. This is definitely a mid lane turret here. Totally unanswered as well.
Remyhre doing so much work on the Aurelia. I mean, you just give it a little bit of a lead and she'll run with it, as you just saw before. That 1 kill on Shen just snowballing to so many advantages. He teleported bot, got 2 kills there, ran mid, got 2 kills there, and now gonna get the turret here. I mean, that's all the outer turrets already down at 16 minutes, and that's going out from what was only a 2k gold lead to a 6k gold lead.
The problem is right now, Monash Placeholder want this to be a slower game than it is. Wow, Tim9 just gets chunked and dunked like it ain't even a thing. Bootleg Herald is back alive, maybe only to die again if he gets too close to the fire here. It is Transstars back alive, trying to stop the siege. Remyhre getting aggressive upon, but those little soldiers don't stack the concussive blows. But just as I was saying, they want this game to be slower than it is. They want Avena and Nissan to have those slower lanes where they can accrue more and more and more of an advantage, and then come into these fights and suddenly flip them on their head, suddenly start turning around the game. But that's just not going to happen. Velvet Whitefish aren't going to give them that sort of route.
Remyhre just dictating the pace of this game right now, and they want these champions to scale up, but if she keeps doing these plays, then it's going to be so hard for the side of Monash Placeholders to do what they want to do. And Remyhre just doing so much for his team right now, and the Dragon's coming out soon. His teleport is up, so he can mirror the Stand United if we were to come through, but just going to run up to Dragon by himself. Not going to use the teleport, maybe teleport back to the top lane if a fight were to break out.
Wow, Transstars down to half health just from 1 little love tap from Remyhre. That's really speaking volumes as to how scary this Aurelia is right now, and Shen is the one who wants to be defending against that. Look at the rest of their team comp. Aside from the Braum, there's just no tankiness. They can't afford to fight Remyhre. Draven tried to get the steal there with the spinning axes there. Not quite going to happen. But if no one in your team can stand up to Remyhre's Aurelia right now, then you expect that they ever will. They're not giving, you know, Avena really, granted he's getting a little bit of it now, but they're not giving him enough breathing room to get as tanky as he needs to be to negate all the damage that comes out of that Trinity Force Aurelia. Same again with Bootleg Herald on Braum. He and Nissan just haven't had that free time.
Given a situation where they do have to switch each other.
Taunt over the wall, but totally missed it. Really, just far too deep without the right wards in the right places there. Avena.
Velvet Weifish is playing the map so well.
Whoa! The stand behind me! Not enough! Midoriya still able to catch Braum just on the edge of that shockwave solo kill there.
Beautifully played there across the map, really. I mean, Velvet Weifish just playing the map how they wanted, and the collapse on top lane to get Avena, the play around Dragon, the the shockwave right there. I mean, all the lanes are doing what they need to do to try to capitalize the lead that they've already gone to build. And Shen wants to be split pushing this game, but I can't help but feel that Shen can't verse Remyhre in the solo lane.
Really, it just has to be said that right now, one of these teams is playing League of Legends.
Oh,
the sweep are gonna find Timmy9 as well. Clive, look at that, he deals more damage to Timmy than Timmy deals to him. That really speaks volumes. Midoriya clearing out these wards. The line of vision just gets pushed further and further up. Look at this, all three lanes are pushed right up in favor of Velvet Weifish. It's, you know, the game is their oyster. They just need to figure out how to crack it right now.
Yeah, Velvet Weifish doing their best job at trying to keep pressure on the map and not give Monash Placeholders any breathing room, and they're doing a very, very good job here already. They have kills on the two carries of the team in the forms of the Orianna and also Remyhre on that Aurelia, so such a good job here so far. And if they keep going at this pace, then it's going to be extremely hard for Monash Placeholders to try bring this game back into their favor.
Yeah, really what went down there is a couple of early advantages were pushed to their absolute limits by Velvet Weifish. Wow, Avena using the teleport to get to safety. That's telling. That's really telling. He knew he couldn't stand up in their fight, knew he couldn't get out. Now Remyhre, he's going to just clear out this entire wave.
Yeah, he's going to lack that CP for any other objectives that are going to happen soon, and only going to have that Stand United as a form of teleportation to help his team out, but as we see before, it hasn't really done much so far for the team. I mean, you want to use this Evelyn pressure coupled with the Shen to kind of gank and push advantages, but being held down so much in this lane, I mean, being out-farmed and out-pressured by his partner in this lane, Remyhre, so we'll see what they can do. Remyhre is going to go one-on-one against Bootleg Harold. Harold can do his best job and try to leave Nissan to free farm bot, but he might get caught out here by the Vi and the Sivir together, going to pair it up.
Very much might Nissan, he's going to get the turret, but he's not getting out of here. Can't even so much as 1v1 and Flick. That was all just the damage that came down straight at the bat. Oh, a shockwave at the top side as Fly breaks out. This actually could be an issue because Velvet Weifish got to pull the members. Nice stream of shots to keep everybody out of the fight. And now actually, it's the other way around. It's been turned on its head. Bootleg Harold has to stay in the back line, but Avena and Transtars are causing grief. Cliven goes down. Now they're finding Remyhre. He's forced to run away. Transtars, he's trying to maybe chase it down. Midoriya is still on the side with so much damage. The one QW combo. Now Timmy9 going down to Cindy. He's got the dunk. He finds it on Transtars. Picks up that kill as well as the Concussor blows on him, but there's nobody with auto attacks to hurt him and stun him up. I lied. Bootleg Harold got the stun, but it was all too late. Avena went down as well. Nissan only just coming back to life. That was it. They had the advantage. They had all the numbers. Everything went about as well as it will ever go for Monash Placeholder, and they still didn't win. They just didn't win the fight quick enough. Cindy was still able to walk all the way from bottom lane.
As you mentioned, the ADC of the side of either teams were not there, but 2 turrets, 4 kills in their favor, and that was a 3v5 essentially, 3v4 sorry essentially, and that was in their favor, but just the amount of damage they brought. Orianna doing so much damage with that blue buff, and this did so much damage to everyone on the side of Monash Placeholders, and I kind of feel that this game is slowly losing out of their grasp right now.
Yeah, the thing is, if you're Monash Placeholder, right now part of your thought process has to be, what do you ban out next game because of this? And I think really the answer isn't necessarily Aurelia. I actually think the answer is Vi. The pressure that Vi was able to put down on any lane, potentially, was enough to keep Timmy9 from doing what he wanted to do in terms of pressuring lanes as a jungler. That meant Nissan couldn't get the advantage he needed against Inflicted, and that meant Nissan couldn't be the carry he needed to be in the mid-game. They weren't able to have the threat that came down from Shen, and it all just kind of fell apart. It almost had nothing to do with Remyhre, because without that Vi, you can almost guarantee that they would have just played that lane as relaxed as possible until Timmy9 showed up and started to shut down the Vi. Sorry, the Aurelia.
Yeah, as you said, there are many scenarios there where TM9 thought he had the upper hand and was there for the gank, but suddenly on the Vi actually had so much pressure and just came on a gank time after time. Get a bit of a stalemate here, gonna poke at each other, but the Dragon will be up in 10 seconds. Remyhre pushing an Avenir in the top lane, and they have to make a decision. Are they gonna go for the fight? Are they gonna get the Dragon and then stop the turret from being pushed in? But the Stand United will be up by the time the fight starts, And there's Sunder's gonna go
Oh,
in, but
Cliven, he wants to go in. Doesn't quite find anyone. They did have the Aurelia off to the side. They found Timmy. Nine jumped into the middle of the fight looking for Inflicted. Didn't quite find him. Spinning action goes far, but barely tickles anyone. What a shockwave! All three caught on the edge, and everyone drops like flies. Avayner's the only one left alive, and he's miles away from the fight. They could even close out the game from here if they wanted. It looks like instead, Velvet Weifish, they want that Baron.
yeah, looking towards a safer play. I mean, Baron, very good neutral objective. Might get the Dragon after this as well, but as you mentioned, that shockwave was just beautiful. Getting 3 carries all together bunched up and looking at this Dragon without any congestion. And same with the same. And Avenir's ult not coming through, and TMR 9 being popped before he could actually make it through. So, very good. What seemed like a very good engage at the start ended up being their downfall, and gonna pick up this Dragon for free. What seems like with no contention by the enemy team.
Really, what else can be said about this? It's all right there in the numbers. 5 turrets, 2 dragons. This is going to be the 3rd, plus the Baron, plus what is very close to a 15k gold lead. It's Whitefish's game to win. They just haven't done it yet. But every time they step out of their base, they get a little bit close to winning. There's no two ways about it. I mean, the fact that even Remyhre isn't the scariest thing right now. It's Midoriya. The fact that it's just the Orianna with the threat of shockwaves that's winning these fights, and sometimes not even the threat, the actual use of it is winning these fights. There's a lot. Remyhre, speaking of, goes aggressive on Nissan. It's again, they just want to fight. Bootleg Harold gets caught up by the shockwave. This time inflicted from the side, finds Nissan. And what a long gun to find him at 9 now. There goes the Azir as well. Transtar's getting knocked up, and again, Avayner nowhere to be seen.
Almost the story of the game right now. Avayner just not being in the right place at the right time, not being able to help his team, and they really capitalized on that. This surrender mode coming through.
Yeah, here comes the surrender mode. It's going to go through right about now, and that is game 1 going over to Velvet Whitefish. Good game, well played. And like I said before, the question for Monash Placeholder has to be, who do we ban out now? Who do we ban out after that game? Because Velvet Whitefish also only took 2 bans into that. That was a really telling game, and I'm really excited to see what happens next.
So many threats on the side of Velvet Weifish, because Aurelia was ridiculously fed, the Vi was doing so much work, and so was Remyhre on that Aurelia. But the bot lane of the Velvet Weifish did a very good job as well. I mean, holding out their own in that lane and capitalizing on the mistakes of the enemy, of the bot lane of the side of Monash Placeholders. But we'll be over this game soon, very soon, guys, and we'll be back in just a bit.